Hey everyone, this is Stephen Strawn of the Cast Iron Cookware channel, where you can find information to help you better collect, restore, and use cast iron cookware. Today I'm going to be doing something I haven't done before, and that is baking a cake in my Lodge vintage Bundt pan. And we're going to be doing that coming right up. Before we get started, I just want to talk just a little bit about this little Bundt pan. It is a Lodge vintage Bundt pan. Recently, Lodge has came out with a Legacy Series piece, which is the remake of their vintage Lodge Bundt pan. And used to, these pieces would be $200–300. You know, I've seen them sell on Iron Man for $250, $200, a little more, a little less. But when the Legacy Series come out, the value of these kind of dropped a little bit. And some ways that's good, some ways it's bad. The way it's good is that it made it available for me to buy one, because I just couldn't hardly find one anywhere because everybody was holding on to them. Then the price dropped a little bit and they got a little more available. This one here has got a little L. I don't know if you can see it. It's a tiny little L right here. Sometimes they have a dot. And I believe the L is a little bit older and the dot is just a little bit after that. So I'm thinking this here is probably the 1950s. The one with the dot is probably 1960s and up. So really excited about this little piece. Excited to finally get one and also cook a bundt cake. I'm excited to see how it turns out. We're going to be making a chocolate fudge bundt cake. And we're going to be putting caramel on top of that when we get done. And it is going to be good. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to get started. We're going to be using 2 of these Betty Crocker Super Moist Chocolate Fudge Cake Mixes. Now you don't have to use this brand. You can use whatever brand you like. And by the way, right now would be a good time to go ahead and preheat your oven. In using a cast iron pan, you're probably going to want to use a little less temperature. So it calls for 350 degrees for a regular pan, and it calls for 325 degrees for glass. So because we're going to be using cast iron, we're going to go ahead and go with glass. I'll be using 2 of these 4.5 cup, 3.9 ounces of chocolate fudge jello. There's one. And you basically just follow the directions on the cake mix, except for the jello. That's a little extra because we're going to make it fudgy. We're going to make it extra chocolatey. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and pour in 2 cups of water. Each cake mix calls for 1 cup, and we're going to use 2. I'm also going to be using 1 cup of regular sweet milk. Each cake mix calls for 3 eggs, so we're going to put 6 eggs. It also calls for ½ a cup of oil, but I'm going to use melted butter. So we have 1 cup of melted butter. So we're going to start blending this. We want to start slow, or we'll have a real mess on our hands. We want to get all the powder worked in before we speed things up. Another thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to butter our pan. Now, we're not going to preheat it. We're just going to use it at room temperature. Now, you can spray it with oven spray, but if you do, you're probably going to have to spray it really heavily. So I'm just going to butter the pan. Seems like with me, cake mixes, whether I'm using cast iron or not, and I don't have any experience with cast iron as far as a cake pan yet. This is kind of my first experience. So I'm going to use butter because I have seen in the past where oven spray will still stick. And if you don't use butter, you're probably in trouble. And we're going to hope that we don't stick. So I'm going to go ahead and take my fingers and make sure every part of it is covered in butter. I'm going to try something that I've heard people say, and I've used it as well when cooking eggs or any other type of cooking with cast iron or just cooking at all. If you add a little bit of oil to your butter, it's like it increases the smoke point. So it gives you a little more lasting strength on your butter. And we're going to kind of dip this in because it is really, really thick. Now 2 mixes may be a little more than you need, but I know 1 is not enough. So I'm not going to fill it all the way to the brim. I'm going to leave myself a little bit of growing room right here. And probably going to go with what we have right there. And we're going to put this in our oven, and we're going to come back and check it in about 25 minutes. And we're going to watch it because I'm not really sure the time on this. Now we're going to put this in our oven at 325 degrees. We're going to give it about 25 minutes, but we're going to watch it close because I've never cooked one of these before, and I just want to make sure that I don't overcook it or even undercook it. So I'll probably be opening the door a couple of times around 25 and 30 minutes. So we're excited about it. We're waiting to see it come out. So we'll come and check this thing out in about 25 minutes and see how we're doing. Okay, we just got this out of the oven and we actually put it in there for about 35 minutes because it seemed a little bit soft on the inner core. But we're going to let it cool, but it looks like it's going to come loose okay. And we might have been on the verge of putting too much in there, but I believe it's still going to be just fine. You can cut this off. I've even seen people take a damp cloth and lay it on it and let it kind of flatten out. I'm just going to let it cool like it is. I will probably take a long knife and slice off the round part so it will set flat. But overall, I believe it's going to turn out pretty good. So we're going to let this thing cool probably for about 25 or 30 minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and plate it. A little bit of run over in the middle. A little bit smoky, but it is good. Probably could let it cool a little more. Well, it's almost like a science project. We're going to continue to let it cool just a little bit. Okay, we're going to go ahead and cut a piece. Let's see. I'm going to cut it down the middle of this wide spot. I'll go ahead and take it. Still a little bit on the warm side. course, I'm going to top it off with a little bit of it is still warm, so it's nothing like warm cake. That looks good. One thing I can say is putting butter on the pan is probably the best thing instead of using the cooking spray. Now, I put the cooking spray kind of on top of it, but I don't think that really matters. You could probably use cooking spray or butter, but I prefer putting butter. I may have put the butter on a little bit thick. That's why the cake had maybe a little bit of pitting on the outside. I've even seen some people take flour after they put the butter on and just kind of sift it over the pan, and that way it kind of gives a little bit of smoother finish. But I didn't do that, but it came out pretty good. I probably could have let it cool a little longer because it was really smoking when I removed the cake from the pan. But all in all, it's turned out really good, and it is really good. Now, if you're going to ice a cake, you do need to let it cool completely before you ice it, or your icing will just run right off of it. But instead of using icing, we just use this. We just use caramel topping. It doesn't matter if it runs all over the place because you just basically take a piece of your cake and get some on your fork, and there you go. For my first attempt of a bundt cake, it's not too bad. Can't wait till I make another one. I got a feeling I'll put a little bit less cake mix in it. I think I put it about 80% full. I would have probably been better putting it about maybe 60% full because it did kind of run over a little bit and run down the center. So you just kind of have to live and learn. The next one I'll probably make, I'm thinking about maybe doing a yellow cake and then maybe putting a chocolate core in it. That'll be kind of interesting. So I just want to say I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have and you'd like to see more, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell, that way you'll be informed of new videos when they come out. And I just want to say thank you again for watching Cast Iron Cookware. You know, ice cream would not be a bad idea.